The alarms screamed across Earth's defense station as something massive dropped out of hyperspace. The ship was unlike anything humans had ever seen before. It looked like a crystal cathedral floating in the void, but parts of it were cracked and bleeding strange blue light into space. Commander Kang Do-hyun rushed to the command center. His boots echoed on the metal floors as officers ran in all directions. The main screen showed the alien vessel getting closer to Earth. It was beautiful but clearly dying. "Sir, they're sending a message," said Lieutenant Park. "It's in perfect Korean." Do-hyun frowned. How could aliens know their language? "Put it through," a voice filled the room. It was soft and musical, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "People of Earth, I am Queen Vera of the Luminar Empire. I come seeking help. My people are dying, and you are our only hope." The bridge went silent. Admiral Park So-jin stepped forward, her face hard with suspicion. "This could be a trick, Commander. How do we know this isn't an invasion?" Before Do-hyun could answer, the alien ship's docking bay opened. A figure floated out, wearing what looked like a spacesuit made of living crystal. The being was tall and graceful, moving like a dancer even in zero gravity. "I come alone and unarmed," the voice said. "Please, let me speak with your leaders. Time is running out for my people." Do-hyun made a decision that would change everything. "Bring her aboard, but keep weapons ready." 20 minutes later, Queen Vera stood in the conference room. She was even more beautiful in person, with skin that seemed to glow from within and eyes like captured starlight. But she was clearly sick. Her crystal-like skin had dark veins running through it, and she moved slowly, as if each step caused her pain. Dr. Kim Woo-jin, Earth's top expert on alien life, scanned her with his medical equipment. His face went pale as he read the results. "Commander, she's dying. Some kind of poison is slowly turning her body to stone." Queen Vera nodded sadly. "The Korthan poison. It kills my people slowly, making us suffer before the end. They use it to break our spirits before they destroy our worlds." Admiral So-jin crossed her arms. "Why should we believe you? And even if this is real, why come to us? We just learned to travel between stars 50 years ago. Surely there are more advanced species who can help you." The Queen's laugh was bitter and sad. "More advanced? Yes, but not braver. The galaxy knows of Earth now, Admiral. They know how your people fought the machines of Nexus Prime when everyone said it was impossible. They know how you never surrender, never give up on those who need help." Do-hyun remembered the Nexus War. The machine world had sent robot armies to destroy human colonies. Everyone said humans were too weak, too new to space travel. But humanity had fought back with everything they had. They turned the enemy's own technology against them and won through pure determination. "The stories of human courage have spread across 1,000 worlds," Queen Vera continued. "You are known as the species that fights for others, not just yourselves. That is why I came to Earth." Dr. Kim looked up from his scanner. "Queen Vera, how many of your people are left?" Her voice broke as she answered. "When I left, there were perhaps 10 million, but the Korthans attack our refugee ships every day. By now—" She couldn't finish. "Tell us about these Korthans," Do-hyun said, settling into a chair. Something about this alien queen made him want to help her, but he needed to know what they were facing. Queen Vera's eyes grew distant. "They are not like other species. The Korthans don't just conquer worlds, they drain them. They feed on the life force of entire planets, leaving nothing but dead rocks behind. They have destroyed 7 civilizations that we know of, each time growing stronger." She waved her hand, and a hologram appeared above the table. It showed a creature that made everyone in the room step back. The Korthan looked like a cross between a dragon and a nightmare, with scales like black metal and eyes that burned with stolen fire. "This is War Chief Thakron," Queen Vera said. "He leads their armies and has never been defeated. His ships are powered by the life force of billions of dead beings." Admiral So-jin shook her head. "Even if we wanted to help, what could we do? Our fleet is tiny compared to what you're describing." "You have something the Korthans don't understand," Queen Vera replied. "Hope. Every species they've faced has given up when they saw how powerful the enemy was. But humans don't give up, do they?" Do-hyun thought about his own life. He'd grown up in the colonies where every day was a fight to survive. He'd seen humans face impossible odds and somehow pull through. It wasn't because they were stronger or smarter than everyone else. It was because they refused to quit. "There's something else," Queen Vera said quietly. "They have my daughter, Princess Lila. She's being held on one of their prison worlds. If I die from this poison, she'll be the last of the royal bloodline. Without her, our people will lose all hope." Dr. Kim studied his readings again. "How long do you have?" "Perhaps 10 days before the poison reaches my heart." "But the antidote?" Queen Vera's voice grew even quieter. "It can only be found in the core of the Korthan homeworld. No one has ever gotten that close to their planet and lived." The room fell silent. Everyone understood what she was asking. It was a suicide mission to a world surrounded by the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. Admiral So Jin spoke first. "Commander, this is madness. We can't risk our entire fleet for one alien, no matter how sad her story is." But Do Hyun was already standing up. He'd made his decision the moment he saw the Queen's dying ship. "Admiral, what makes us human isn't our technology or our weapons. It's that we help people who need help, even when it seems impossible." He turned to Queen Vera. "Your Majesty, humanity accepts your request. We'll save your daughter and find that antidote." Queen Vera's eyes filled with tears that sparkled like diamonds. "Thank you, Commander. But you should know, if you do this, the Korthans will learn about Earth. They'll come for your world next." Do Hyun smiled grimly. "Then they'll learn what happens when you threaten humanity's friends." As the meeting ended and plans began to form, no one in that room knew they were about to become legends across the galaxy. The greatest adventure in human history was just beginning. Commander Kang Do-hyun stood on the observation deck of the transport ship, watching Mars grow larger in the viewport. 3 days had passed since Queen Vera's arrival, and time was running out. The alien queen grew weaker each day, the dark veins spreading across her crystal skin like cracks in ice. But Do-hyun wasn't going to face the Korthans with regular soldiers. If humanity was going to save the galaxy, he needed the best warriors Earth had ever produced. His first stop was the military prison on Mars. The guards led him through corridors filled with Earth's most dangerous criminals and court-martialed soldiers. At the end of the hall sat Major Lee Jin-ho in a cell barely big enough for his massive frame. Jin-ho had once been humanity's greatest soldier until a mission went wrong on Titan. His entire squad had been killed by alien pirates while he watched, helpless, in a damaged battlesuit. The trauma had driven him to attack his commanding officer. Now half his body was replaced with military cybernetics, making him more machine than man. "Jin-ho," Do-hyun said quietly, "I need you." The Major looked up with eyes that glowed blue from his cybernetic implants. "For what? Another mission where good people die while I survive?" "For a mission where dying means something," Do-hyun replied. "We're going to save an entire species from extinction." Jin-ho was silent for a long moment. Then he stood up, his mechanical joints whirring softly. "When do we leave?" The next stop was the asteroid belt, where Captain Han Mi-young was racing. Her ship through the mining fields. Her vessel, the Indomitable, danced between massive rocks like a bird in a storm. Other pilots called her crazy, but Mi-young had never lost a race or a battle. Do-hyun's ship caught up to her at Ceres Station. Mi-young was in the bar, celebrating another victory over pilots half her age. She was small and quick, with scars on her hands from years of flying dangerous missions. "Mi-young, I need the best pilot in the galaxy," Do-hyun said, sitting down beside her. She laughed and took another drink. "Flattery won't work on me, Commander. But if you're talking about a real challenge, I'm listening. How about flying into the heart of the most dangerous fleet in the galaxy?" Mi-young's eyes lit up with excitement. "Now you're talking my language." The third member of his team was found on Europa, in the deep mining tunnels beneath the ice. Sergeant Choi Sung-min was setting charges to blast through a wall of solid rock when Do-hyun found him. Sung-min was covered in dust and grinning like a child with a new toy. "Sergeant, I need someone who can make big explosions in space," Do-hyun said. Sung-min's grin got wider. "How big are we talking, Commander?" "Big enough to destroy a moon-sized ship." "Now that sounds like fun." Dr. Yoon Nari was harder to convince. Do-hyun found her in a medical station on the edge of human space, treating colonists who had been attacked by raiders. She was young but had steady hands and a reputation for saving lives that everyone else had given up on. "Doctor, I need someone who can keep a team alive in hostile alien environments," Do-hyun explained. Nari didn't look up from her patient. "I took an oath to save lives, not help take them. What if I told you that millions of innocent aliens are dying, and you're the only one who can help them?" That got her attention. She looked at Do-hyun with tired eyes that had seen too much suffering. "Tell me more." The last member of the team was the hardest to find. Master Baek Ho-seok lived, alone on a small station in the outer system, practicing martial arts in zero gravity. He was old, with white hair and wrinkled skin, but he moved like flowing water. "Master Baek, I need a warrior," Do-hyun said when he found the old man floating in meditation. "I am not a warrior anymore, young commander. I am a teacher of peace. Sometimes, peace has to be fought for." The old man opened his eyes and studied Do-hyun carefully. "Show me your enemy." Do-hyun played the recording Queen Vera had given him. It showed Korthan's ships destroying a peaceful world, draining its life until nothing remained but a dead rock. The old master watched in silence as billions of innocent beings were murdered. "I see," Master Baek said quietly. "When do we leave?" Back on Earth, the team gathered in the briefing room. Queen Vera was there, looking weaker than before but still determined. Princess Lila's image floated above the table. She looked like her mother, but younger, with hope still shining in her crystal eyes. "The Korthans have her on Kethmaran," Queen Vera explained. "It's a fortress world where they break their prisoners' spirits before killing them. The planet is surrounded by defense platforms, powered by stolen life force." Jin-ho studied the tactical display with his cybernetic eyes. "How many ships are we talking about?" "At least 1,000 battlecruisers plus support vessels," the Queen replied. The room went quiet. Even with humanity's best warriors, those were impossible odds. Captain Mi-young was the first to speak. "Well, that should be interesting." Sergeant Sung-min laughed. "I've always wanted to blow up 1,000 ships at once." Dr. Nari looked worried. "How are we supposed to survive long enough to rescue the princess?" "We don't fight their fleet directly," Do-hyun said. "We use what makes humans special. We think differently than they do." Master Baek nodded slowly. "The enemy expects us to fight like the species they've defeated before, but we are not like those species." Queen Vera looked around the table at the faces of Earth's champions. "You're really going to do this, aren't you? Risk everything for people you've never met?" "That's what humans do," Do-hyun replied. "We help people who need help." Over the next 2 days, the team prepared for the mission. Jin-ho worked with the engineers to upgrade their weapons with human technology. Mi-young studied the enemy ship designs, looking for weaknesses. Sung-min filled cargo containers with explosives that could be turned into weapons. Dr. Na-ri created medical supplies that would work on alien biology. Master Baek taught the others how to fight in zero gravity. Queen Vera spent her remaining strength helping them understand Korthan tactics. "They rely on fear," she explained. "Every species they've faced has been terrified by their power, but fear makes you predictable." "Good thing humans are too stupid to be scared," Mi-young said with a grin. On the morning of departure, a small fleet of human ships waited in Earth orbit. They weren't the biggest or most powerful vessels in the galaxy, but they were crewed by humans who refused to give up. Do-hyun stood on the bridge of his command ship, looking back at Earth one last time. The blue and white planet looked so peaceful from space, but he knew that would change if they failed. The Korthans would come for humanity next. Queen Vera joined him at the viewport. She was so weak now that she had to lean on a support rail to stand. "Commander," she said quietly, "I want you to know that whatever happens, you've already given my people something we'd lost, hope. We're not done yet, Your Majesty. We're going to save your daughter and find that antidote. And if you don't make it back," Do-hyun smiled, "then the galaxy will know that humans died trying to do the right thing. Sometimes that's enough." The fleet jumped to hyperspace, carrying Earth's mightiest warriors into the unknown. Behind them, Earth continued spinning peacefully, unaware that its children were about to become legends. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Korthan territory, and everyone on the bridge stared in horror at what they saw. Space itself seemed to be dying here. Stars flickered weakly, their light drained away by massive Korthan, ships that fed on stellar energy. Whole solar systems were nothing but empty darkness where planets used to orbit. "My God," whispered Dr. Nari. "How many worlds have they destroyed?" Queen Vera, now so weak she had to stay in the medical bay, answered through the ship's communication system. "Hundreds, maybe thousands. They've been doing this for centuries." Commander Do-hyun studied the tactical display. Korthan ships filled the space ahead of them like a wall of metal and death. Each vessel was the size of a human city, covered in weapons that could crack a moon in half. And there were so many of them that the sensors couldn't count them all. "Captain Mi-young," Do-hyun said into his radio, "you're seeing this too, right?" Mi-young's voice came back from her ship sounding excited instead of scared. "I see it, Commander. Looks like target practice to me." "You're insane," Major Jin-ho said from his position at the weapons console, but there was approval in his voice. The first attack came without warning. A group of Korthan patrol ships spotted the human fleet and charged forward, expecting easy prey. They were used to enemies who ran or begged for mercy when they saw the size of the Korthan forces. Instead, they met Captain Mi-young. Her ship, the Indomitable, dove straight at the enemy formation like a hawk attacking eagles. The Korthan ships were bigger and more powerful, but they couldn't match her speed and skill. She flew between their weapons, too fast for their targeting systems to follow. "Mi-young, what are you doing?" Do-hyun shouted over the radio. "Something they won't expect," she replied calmly. She led the Korthan ships into an asteroid field, flying between rocks that would have crushed any other pilot. The enemy ships, built for straight-line battles, couldn't follow her wild maneuvers. They crashed into asteroids or collided with each other as they tried to keep up. When the dust settled, 5 Korthan ships were destroyed, and Mi-young hadn't taken a single hit. "How did you do that?" asked Sergeant Sung-min. "Easy," Mi-young replied. "They think like soldiers, not pilots. They expect enemies to face them head-on. But humans learn to fly by avoiding obstacles, not smashing through them." The victory was small, but it sent a message through the Korthan fleet. These new enemies were different. War Chief Thakron received the report on his massive command ship. The creature studied the tactical data with interest. In 300 years of conquest, no enemy had destroyed 5 of his ships without losing any of their own. "Interesting," he growled in a voice like grinding metal. "Send more ships. I want to see what these humans can do." The next attack was larger, 50 Korthan vessels against the small human fleet. But Do-hyun had been thinking too. He scattered his ships across the battlefield, forcing the enemy to split up their forces. This time, it was Sergeant Sung-min's turn to shine. His ship was loaded with mining explosives that he'd converted into space weapons. As the Korthan ships pursued him, he dropped his deadly cargo like breadcrumbs. The explosions weren't big enough to destroy the massive enemy ships, but they damaged their engines and weapons. More importantly, they created debris clouds that blocked sensors and communications. "This is like hunting space whales with firecrackers," Sung-min laughed, as another Korthan ship limped away with smoke pouring from its hull. Major Jin-ho's cybernetic enhancements allowed him to interface directly with the human ship computers. He could process battle data faster than any normal human, predicting enemy movements and coordinating the fleet's attacks with machine precision. "Korthan ship Deathbringer will turn left in 3 seconds, he announced. "Ma-young, hit there, right flank now." "How do you know that?" Dr. Nari asked. "Their formation patterns are too rigid," Jin-ho replied. "They follow predetermined battle plans instead of adapting to changing situations." The human ships danced around their massive enemies like mosquitoes attacking elephants. They couldn't match the Korthans in raw firepower, but they were faster, smarter, and completely unpredictable. Master Beck proved that age was just a number when his ship was boarded by Korthan warriors. The aliens expected to find frightened humans cowering in fear. Instead, they found an old man who fought like flowing water. In zero gravity, Master Bayek's martial arts became something beautiful and deadly. He moved without effort, using the ship's walls and ceiling to redirect his momentum. The Korthan soldiers, built for ground combat, couldn't adapt to his three-dimensional fighting style. "Fighting is like dancing," he said calmly as he defeated warrior after warrior. "You must flow with your environment, not fight against it." For 3 days, the human fleet fought a running battle through Korthan space. They couldn't win a direct confrontation, so they used hit-and-run tactics that drove the enemy crazy with frustration. But slowly, the truth became clear. They were winning individual battles, but the Korthans had too many ships. For every enemy vessel destroyed, 10 more took its place. "We're not going to make it at this rate," Do-hyun said during a brief break in the fighting. Dr. Nari had been studying the Korthan prisoners they'd captured. Her medical scans revealed something disturbing. "Commander, these beings aren't just warriors. They're addicted to the life force they drain from other species. It's like a drug to them." "Can we use that against them?" "Maybe. If we could disrupt their connection to the stolen energy." Queen Vera's weak voice interrupted them. "There might be a way. The fortress world where they're holding my daughter, it's also where they store the life force from destroyed worlds. If you could get close enough, we could poison their supply," Jin-ho finished. "Turn their own weapon against them." The plan was desperate and dangerous. They would have to penetrate the most heavily defended planet in Korthan space, rescue Princess Lila, and somehow sabotage the enemy's power source. "It's suicide," Admiral Park said over the long-range communication link. "Probably," Do-hyun agreed. "But it's the only chance we have." As the human fleet approached Kethmaran, the fortress world came into view. It was a nightmare made real. A planet covered in crystalline towers that pulsed with stolen life energy. Orbital platforms surrounded it like a crown of thorns, each one bristling with enough weapons to destroy a fleet. "There she is," Queen Vera whispered. "My daughter is somewhere on that world of horrors." War Chief Thakran watched the approaching human ships from his command throne. These strange beings had impressed him with their cunning and courage, but now they were making a fatal mistake. They were attacking his strongest fortress directly. "Activate all defense platforms," he ordered. "Let's see how brave these humans are when they face real power." The space around Kethmaran lit up with weapons fire as hundreds of defense stations opened fire simultaneously. The barrage was so intense that it looked like a solid wall of death, but the human ships didn't slow down. They dove into the maelstrom like they were diving into hell itself. "All ships, follow my lead," Do-hyun commanded. "And remember, we're not here to destroy this fleet. We're here to save a princess and show the galaxy what humans are made of." Captain Mi-young's laughter came over the radio as her ship danced through the deadly light show. "Last one to the planet buys drinks for everyone." The battle for Kethmaran was about to begin, and the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. The human fleet carved through the deadly space around Kethmaran like arrows through fire. Defense platforms the size of skyscrapers poured destruction into space, but Captain Mi-young led her ships in a wild dance that turned the enemies overwhelming. Firepower into chaos. "They're shooting each other." Sergeant Sung-min laughed as 2 Korthan platforms accidentally hit each other while trying to target his ship, but the victory was costing them dearly. One by one, human vessels fell to the endless barrage. Good people who had followed Do-hyun across the galaxy died in balls of flame, their last words lost in the roar of battle. On the surface of Kethmaran, Major Jin-ho led a strike team through the crystalline towers that held the planet's prisoners. His cybernetic enhancements allowed him to see through the alien technology's defenses, but what he found inside made his mechanical heart skip. The towers weren't just prisons. They were feeding chambers where the Korthans slowly drained the life force from their captives. Thousands of beings from dozens of species hung in crystal cages, their energy being siphoned away to power the fortress world's weapons. "My God," Dr. Nari whispered as she followed Jin-ho through the horror. "They're still alive. All of them are still alive." Princess Lila was in the highest tower, suspended in a cage made of living crystal that pulsed with dark energy. She looked like her mother, but younger, and despite everything she'd endured, her eyes still burned with defiant hope. "You're human," she said when Jin-ho broke her free. "Mother said you would come." "We keep our promises, Princess," Jin-ho replied, catching her as she collapsed. "But we need to move fast." That's when War Chief Thakran's trap revealed itself. The Korthan leader had been watching the human tactics for days, learning their strengths and weaknesses. He had allowed them to penetrate his defenses because he wanted something more valuable than victory. He wanted to understand what made humans so dangerous. Fascinating creatures, Thakron said as he entered the tower chamber. The massive alien filled the doorway, his scales gleaming like black metal and his eyes burning with the light of consumed stars. You fight for beings you've never met, risk everything for complete strangers. It's either the greatest strength or the greatest weakness I've ever seen. Jinho pushed Princess Lila behind him and raised his weapons. You're about to find out which one it is. The battle between Jinho and Thakron shook the entire tower. The Korthan war chief was incredibly strong, powered by centuries of stolen life force. But Jinho fought with the desperate fury of a man who had already lost everything once. His cybernetic enhancements allowed him to match Thakron's speed and strength, but the alien leader was winning through sheer endurance. Jinho's mechanical parts began to spark and fail under the assault. "Why do you fight so hard for her?" Thakron demanded as he threw Jinho across the chamber. "She's not even your species." Jinho pulled himself to his feet, blood running from his human parts while his cybernetics flickered. "Because that's what humans do. We protect people who need protecting, even if it kills you, especially if it kills us." Jinho's final attack was a suicide run. He overloaded all his cybernetic systems at once, turning himself into a living weapon. The explosion didn't kill Thakron, but it brought down half the tower and allowed Princess Lila to escape. As he lay dying in the rubble, Jinho used his last breath to send a message to the fleet. "The prisoners are the power source. Free them all." In space above the planet, Captain Mi Young received Jinho's final transmission just as her ship took a direct hit from a defense platform. The Indomitable spun out of control, its engines dead and hull cracking. "Mi Young, eject!" Du Hyun shouted over the radio. "Get out of there!" But Mi Young had seen something Jinho's sacrifice had revealed. The defense platforms were connected to the prison towers by streams of energy. If she could break that connection... "Tell my family I love them," Mi Young said calmly as she aimed her dying ship at the largest energy conduit. "And tell them their daughter died like a pilot should, flying into the impossible." The Indomitable struck the conduit in a blaze of light that could be seen from orbit. The explosion severed the connection between the orbital defenses and their power source, causing a chain reaction that spread across the planet's entire defense network. Half the defense platforms went dark, their weapons falling silent. Down. On the planet's surface, Master Bayek fought his way through hordes of Korthan guards to reach the central power core. The old martial artist moved like water through stone, his ancient techniques proving more effective than modern weapons against enemies who had never seen their like. But there were too many of them, and Master Beck was only human. As Korthan warriors closed in around him, he made the same choice his teammates had made. "A warrior's greatest victory," he said peacefully, "is knowing when to sacrifice everything for others." His final technique was something he had never taught anyone, a way of focusing all his life energy into a single moment of perfect action. The explosion of pure force that followed destroyed the power core and freed thousands of prisoners at once. Sergeant Sungmin fought to save as many prisoners as he could, using his explosives to break open the crystal cages. Each freed being weakened the Korthan defenses further, but there were so many prisoners and so little time. "Come on!" he shouted to a group of rescued aliens as Korthan reinforcements closed in. "We're getting out of here!" But a support beam, weakened by his own explosives, chose that moment to collapse. Sungmin threw himself forward, pushing the aliens to safety while tons of crystal crashed down on him. "Tell the commander," he gasped to Dr. Nari as she tried desperately to free him, "that I finally found something worth dying for." Dr. Nari was the only team member left alive when she reached Queen Vera's location. The alien queen was dying, the poison finally reaching her heart, but she had used her remaining strength to synthesize something incredible. "It's not a cure," Queen Vera whispered as she pressed a glowing vial into Nari's hands. "But it will give me enough time to help. You reach the Korthan homeworld. The real antidote is there, in the planet's core. Your Majesty, I don't know if I can do this alone." Queen Vera smiled with her last breath. "You won't be alone, Dr. Nari. You carry the hopes of 2 species with you now." Nari injected the temporary antidote into Queen Vera's body, and for A brief moment, the alien ruler's strength returned. But it was borrowed time, and they both knew it. Commander Do-hyun fought his way to their position just as War Chief Thakkaron emerged from the wreckage of the tower. The Korthan leader was wounded but still incredibly dangerous, and now he was angry. "Your friends died for nothing, human," Thakkaron snarled. "You've only delayed the inevitable. My fleet will hunt down every human world and drain them all." "Maybe," Do-hyun replied, raising his weapon, "but first you'll have to get past us." The final battle on Kethmaran was brief and brutal. Do-hyun couldn't match Thakkaron's raw power, but he had something the alien didn't understand: the absolute refusal to give up. Even when Thakkaron's claws tore through his armor, even when his own blood made it hard to see, Do-hyun kept fighting. Not because he thought he could win, but because his friends had died to get this far, and their sacrifice had to mean something. In the end, it was Princess Lila who saved them. The young alien had inherited more than just her mother's appearance. She had power over the crystal technology that the Korthans had never understood. With Queen Vera's guidance, she turned the fortress world's own defenses against its master. Thakkaron fell, but not before delivering a final terrible blow. His claws found Do-hyun's chest, and the human commander collapsed beside his defeated enemy. As Dr. Nari worked frantically to save Do-hyun's life, Queen Vera used the last of her borrowed strength to reveal the truth about the Korthan homeworld. "It's not just their capital," she whispered. "It's where they've stored the life force of every world they've ever destroyed. Billions of souls are trapped there, waiting to be freed." "How do we free them?" "The same way your friends freed the prisoners. Here, with courage, sacrifice, and the belief that every life matters." As rescue ships arrived to evacuate the survivors, Do-hyun looked back at the burning fortress world. Half his team was dead, but they had saved thousands of lives and dealt a serious blow to the Korthan Empire. "Was it worth it?" Princess Lila asked, tears streaming down her crystal face. Do-hyun thought of Jin-ho's sacrifice, Mi-young's final flight, Master Beck's peaceful end, and Sungmin's heroic last stand. "Ask me when we've saved your people and freed all those trapped souls. Then I'll tell you if it was worth it." The hardest battles still lay ahead, but humanity had proven something important to the galaxy. They were willing to die for strangers, to sacrifice everything for the principle that all life was precious. Now they had to prove they could win the war, not just the battles. The Korthan homeworld hung in space like a diseased heart, pulsing with the stolen life force of 100 dead civilizations. Commander Do-hyun, still recovering from his wounds, stood on the bridge of his damaged ship and stared at the most terrifying sight in the galaxy. The planet itself was wrong. Where there should have been blue oceans and green continents, there were only crystalline formations that glowed with unnatural light. These weren't cities. They were storage chambers for the souls of entire worlds. Billions of beings who had been murdered by the Korthans were trapped there, their life essence used to power an empire of death. "It's beautiful in a horrible way," Dr. Nari whispered beside him. She was the only other member of his original team still alive, and the weight of their friends' sacrifices hung heavy between them. Queen Vera lay dying in the medical bay, the temporary antidote finally losing its battle against the Korthan, poison. Princess Lila sat beside her mother, holding her crystal hand while tears flowed down her face like liquid diamonds. "The antidote is in the planet's core," Queen Vera said weakly through the ship's communication system. "But to reach it, you'll have to pass through the Chamber of Souls. Every being the Korthans have ever killed is trapped there." "How do we free them?" Do-hyun asked. "I don't know. No one has ever tried. But if anyone can find a way, it's humans." The fleet that surrounded the homeworld was unlike anything they had faced before. These weren't just warships. They were living vessels grown from the planet itself, powered by the screams of the dead. Each ship was the size of a moon, and there were thousands of them. But Do-hyun's fleet wasn't the same force that had left Earth weeks ago. Word of humanity's courage had spread across the galaxy, and ships from dozens of species had joined their cause. The grateful beings they had freed from Kethmaran had brought their own vessels and weapons. "This is Admiral Jorak of the Stellan." "Republic," came a voice over the radio. "Our worlds remember how your people fought for strangers. Today we fight for you. Commander Do-hyun, This is Captain Vex of the Meridian Alliance. Our children sing songs about human bravery. Let us add another verse." More and more voices joined the chorus until Do-hyun realized he was leading the largest coalition fleet in galactic history. Hundreds of species that had never worked together before were united by a simple idea: that humanity's sacrifice deserved to be honored. The battle began when the Korthan fleet moved to intercept them. The enemy ships were powerful beyond imagination, each one capable of destroying an entire solar system. But they faced something they had never encountered before, an enemy that fought not from fear or anger, but from love. Love for the innocent beings trapped on the planet below. Love for friends who had died to get them this far. Love for the idea that all life was precious and worth defending. The coalition fleet fought with desperate courage, but it was clear they couldn't win through conventional means. The Korthan ships were simply too powerful, too numerous. For every enemy vessel destroyed, 2 more took its place. That's when Do-hyun made the hardest decision of his life. "All human ships, prepare for final assault," he commanded. "We're going through." "Sir, that's suicide," his tactical officer protested. "Probably. But dying isn't the worst thing that can happen to a person. Living without honor is worse." Remaining human vessels formed up around Do-hyun's command ship and dove straight into the heart of the enemy fleet. They had no chance of survival, but that wasn't the point. The point was to get at least one ship to the planet's surface. Dr. Nari piloted a small shuttle with Do-hyun and Princess Lila aboard. As the human fleet died around them, she flew through gaps in the enemy formation that no sane pilot would attempt. Ships exploded on all sides, lighting up space with the final moments of Earth's bravest children. "Dr. Nari," Do-hyun said quietly, as they approached the planet's surface, "you know we're not coming back from this." "I know," she replied without taking her eyes off the controls. But Queen Vera was right. Some things are worth dying for. They crashed on the planet's surface near what sensors indicated was the entrance to the core. The landscape around them was a nightmare of crystal formations and floating platforms where the essence of dead worlds was processed and stored. War Chief Thakron was waiting for them. The Korthan leader had survived their battle on Kethmoran, but he was changed. Parts of his body were now made of the same crystal that powered his homeworld, and his eyes burned with the light of consumed stars. "So the insects have come to die in my nest," he growled. "How fitting. We've come to free the souls you've stolen," Do-hyun replied, helping Princess Lila out of the crashed shuttle. "Free them?" Thakron laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "They are part of me now. Their strength flows through my veins. Why would I give up such power?" "Because power stolen from others isn't real strength, it's just fear wearing a mask." The final battle took place in the Chamber of Souls, a vast cavern at the planet's heart where the life force of billions of beings swirled in crystalline formations. As Do-hyun and Thakron fought, their struggle sent shockwaves through the chamber that caused the crystal formations to crack and sing. Thakron was impossibly strong, sustained by the energy of entire civilizations. But as the battle continued, Do-hyun began to understand something important. The souls trapped in the crystals weren't truly gone. They were still aware, still capable of choice. "Can you hear me?" he called out to the swirling energies around them. "You don't have to serve him anymore. You can choose to be free." At first, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the crystal formations began to resonate with a new frequency. The trapped souls were responding to something they hadn't heard in centuries, a voice that spoke of hope instead of despair. "Impossible," Thakron snarled as his power began to fluctuate. "They belong to me!" "Nobody belongs to anyone," Do-hyun replied, dodging the war chief's claws. "That's the first thing humans learn." Princess Lila added her voice to Do-hyun's, speaking in the musical language of her people. Dr. Nari, working frantically at the chamber's control systems, found a way to amplify their words throughout the entire planet. One by one, the trapped souls began to break free from their crystal prisons. As they did, Thakron's power weakened. The stolen life force that had sustained him for centuries was returning to its rightful owners. "This is impossible!" the war chief roared as his body began to crack like breaking stone. "I am eternal. I am power itself. No, Do-hyun said quietly, as he stood over his fallen enemy. You're just a parasite who forgot that stolen strength always turns against you in the end. As Thakron crumbled to dust, the chamber filled with light. The souls of billions of beings, free at last, swirled around Do-hyun and his companions like a galaxy of stars. In their grateful song, he heard the voices of every species the Korthans had destroyed, thanking humanity for remembering that all life was sacred. Princess Lila found the antidote in the chamber's heart, a crystal formation that pulsed with pure life energy. But when she offered it to Do-hyun, he shook his head. Give it to your mother. She's the one who brought us all together. Dr. Nari smiled through her tears as they made their way back to the surface. Around them, the Korthan homeworld was transforming. The stolen life force was returning to its proper place in the universe, and the planet of death was becoming something new, a monument to the power of sacrifice and redemption. Queen Vera was barely alive when they returned to the ship, but the antidote worked its miracle. As the poison left her system, her crystal skin began to glow with its natural light once more. You did it, she whispered to Do-hyun. You saved us all. We all did it, he replied. Every human who died, every alien who joined our cause, every soul that chose freedom over slavery. That's what makes us strong, not fighting alone, but fighting together. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy changed. The Korthan Empire collapsed as their life force network failed. Enslaved worlds declared their independence. Species that had been enemies for centuries began to work together, inspired by humanity's example. Earth was invited to join the Galactic Council not as a junior member, but as its protector. When the invitation was read, Do-hyun thought of Jin-ho, Mi-young, Master Beck, and Sung-min. They would have been proud to know their sacrifice had meant something. A great memorial was built in Earth's orbit, listing the names of everyone who had died to save the galaxy. The inscription, written in 1,000 languages, was simple. They died so that others might live free. This is the human way. Queen Vera spoke at the dedication ceremony, her voice carrying across the galaxy through quantum communication networks. We searched the stars for heroes, she said, and found them in the most unlikely place. A small blue world whose people believe that love is stronger than fear, that courage is more powerful than hatred, and that the life of a stranger is worth the sacrifice of a friend. Do-hyun stood in the crowd, no longer a commander, but simply a man who had learned what it truly meant to be human. Around him, beings from across the galaxy listened to the Queen's words and understood that something fundamental had changed. The universe was no longer a place where the strong preyed on the weak without consequence. Now it was a place where someone would always stand up for those who couldn't stand up for themselves.